Grab your holy symbols, Wargamers, because today we are once again sticking it to the Necromancer Man, or the Necromancer Minotaur, if you will, with a far more complicated game of Song of Blades and Heroes by Andrea Sfiligoi than we have played yet. In today's scenario, we are going to have a party of intrepid adventurers assaulting the tower of the Minotaur Necromancer, or Necromancer, however you want to pronounce it. Before we get into that, I'll show you my little 10mm Wizard's Tower is just a wooden ball glued to a piece of cork, painted appropriately. The giant magic mushrooms here are the wooden fillers for when you countersink a screw, and then a little bit of cardstock for the door. It's all based on a simple, what is this, like a 3 1/4 inch wooden disc that you can get at any Hobby Lobby or other craft store of your choice. As I said, a little more complicated. We've got a lot of special abilities at play. Let me introduce you to our heroes first, all of whom have a quality score of 3, with the exception of our War Mage over here, who has a quality of 4. They all have a combat skill of 3, but we have a couple of different special abilities. The man in front here is a cleric, and clerics have the special ability that they can heal. That's going to help out our lone hero, our hero halfling, who has with his quality of 3, when he takes a wound, when he's put out of action, he isn't actually put out of action. He just has his quality go up until it reaches 7. So effectively, 4, 5, 6, 7, he has 4 hit points. Mr. Cleric, if he's standing adjacent, can use one of his activations to reduce that by 1. He can also, by expending 2 activations, convince one of his reluctant fallen down allies to stand back up. He also treats all of his attacks against undead, so that's these boys, not the Minotaur, as a lethal. He doesn't have to double them up to kill them. He just needs to beat them in fair combat. We have a couple of elite archers here who, one of the things that I hadn't been playing with is the range bands. An archer can actually fire beyond, in this case, he can fire medium. He can fire a second medium at a -2 and a third range band at -4. However, because these two archers have unerring aim, they reduce those to -1 and -2 respectively. That's going to come in handy. Particularly going to be a struggle because these undead have the special ability that, one, they don't make morale checks whenever they see a gruesome kill, but the other thing is they deliver a -2 to the combat roll for these two archers. When you try to shoot at them, the arrows are just going to slick right through their bones. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. They're going to really appreciate having that unerring aim. What else we got? Our halfling hero, unfortunately, has a short move. And our big boy... Hey, where'd he go? I have a 6th guy. Where's my barbarian? Here he is. He is fearless. And fearless is going to come in handy because they have to face... Well, he's immune to morale checks due to gruesome deaths. And this mummy over here on the far left is terrible. He inspires terror, which has a lot of funky little rules as far as morale checks. You can't charge into combat with him unless you pass a quality check. And if he charges you, you have to make a morale test or skedaddle on down the road. Everybody's undead, as I said, except the shooter, except for the Minotaur, who's just a magic user. He's not large or anything like that. He's just the most appropriate model I had that you haven't seen yet. Our Wraith over here can fly and disengage. So if he wants to leave hand-to-hand combat, he can do it without drawing a free attack. Flying is pretty obvious. The Mummy is really the heavy hitter. He is not only undead, he is also tough, and he inspires terror. Good news, he's slow, so he'll at least be fairly easy to track down. And as you recall, tough means that he, what was tough mean? Gruesome deaths are just treated as a normal kill. And when it receives a normal kill, he's just wounded. So he's wounded in the same way that the hero is. I think that's about it. I'm going to reset the camera because I haven't quite figured out where the heroes are going to come in from. All of the undead are going to start in the Necromancer's compound, and the victory conditions here, these guys outpoint these guys by just a little bit. So we're going to say that since it's an assault on the tower, what we want to do is at the end of, call it 12 game turns, if they have any figures inside the hedge at the end of 12 game turns, they're the winners. So there's our victory conditions. I'll be right back once I get this set up. So here is our initial setup. I have decided to change the victory conditions a little bit. We are going to play until the heroes get 2 figures onto the green terrain piece that represents the Necromancer's tower, specifically where you see the Necromancer and his wraith standing right now. If they can get 2 figures on there, they win. If they reach a point where they only have 1 figure left, they cannot win. Game over. So for them, it's reach that point, and for these guys, it's just try to stop them. And they are going to come on. We'll do the same as we did before. On which side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll roll our orange dice. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the good news is they come on here, and as you can see, the Necromancer has arrayed his forces. He's got a bowman over here, and he's got his hand weaponers here, and his heavy boy, Mr. Mummy, right there. We're going to set up our heroes with a couple of guys shooting. Yeah, so obviously they're going to want their archers to try to focus in on the wizard. We've got our heavy hitter who needs, and our hero. By the way, the hero is also going to pass all of his checks for attacking that mummy because he's a hero. He ain't no chicken. And I guess we'll just swap these 2 in and out. So we've got our cleric and our war mage, and hopefully we can get the war mage near enough. Now, magic users, I didn't talk about that yet. Let me talk about that real quick just to give you an idea how that works. When a magic user activates, he nominates a number of dice to roll. And for every success he rolls, he gets 1 power. So in this case, our war mage has rolled 2 successes. So he can cast a spell that's a medium distance. For 1 success, he would only be able to shoot a short distance, and for 3, he could shoot the long distance. In this case, the short distance would be power 1. It's going to be a ranged attack with a +1 to his combat skill. He's a power 2 would be combat 2, and a power 3 would be long with combat 3. Or he can try to transfix. And for transfix, you say, oh, I'm going to cast a transfix spell. And then for every success you roll, the target has to make a quality check. And if he rolls any failures, he is frozen in place, which has all kinds of nasty little effects. He's essentially paralyzed. And we'll deal with those effects when they come. Again, Necromancer has that power, as does our War Mage. They can do the same thing in hand-to-hand combat, cast that same spell, but it works essentially the same way, except you don't have to worry about range. So that's all there is to it. Let's find out who goes first by rolling a d6, and the orange is going to be the Necromancer, who rolls a 2, so the Necromancer gets the benefit of going first. Now, we don't have any leaders, so we're not going to have any group moves, so he's going to start by nominating this archer to take 2 actions. That archer has a quality of 3, so he's going to make his medium move to here, and he's going to take a shot at one of those archers, and he shoots medium. At 2 range bands, he's going to attack with oh boy, with a -2. So ordinarily, he would be attacking at a 1. He is at wow, that is a horrible bowman. Okay, he's going to be rolling at a -1, and his target is going to be rolling at an elite archer at a 3. So we're shooting at the Little Miss Bow there. He gets a 5, Little Miss Bow gets a 7, and no effect. He's not going to be much of a speed bump, is he? We will next move Mr. Mummy, who has a quality of 5. Let's just go ahead and move him once. So that is a success. He has a short move, so he's going to jump right up over to there. And that's all he's got. We're going to do the Wraith has quality of 3. He gets to do 2 moves, and because he can fly, he ignores all terrain. What else has he got? There we go. So he's going to fly there to start. And can he reach them? He cannot. He's going to stop just short. And in point of fact, I think he's actually going to fly over here and stop just short of the War Mage. We're less concerned about the archers. They're going to struggle against the undead. We're far more concerned with these guys over here. Which brings us to our 4 skeletons with hand weapons, and we'll just go right down the line. We'll start with Mr. Spear, who rolls 2 successes, and as a result can move medium to there. And, you know, I take it back. He's going to move. Very interesting. You know, let's just, I feel like I want to put him inside the woods here. He's only going to be able to move short, but I think that's okay. This guy is going to open up next, and he gets 1 success, so he only gets to move medium. So he's going to jump up right next to Mr. Mummy. And I have a feeling we're going to want to ambush these heroes with as many skeletons as possible. So that's going to be a 6. He's going to move up to here and to there. And then this last guy is going to roll 2 successes, and he's going to move, first move to there, and then he can do a short move to, how about right there, right on the fallen tree, courtesy of the TSA's tree service. Thanks, guys. Which brings us to our necromancer, who is going to go ahead now. Normally nobody has to declare what they're doing until after they've rolled their activation dice. These guys have to declare whether or not they're casting a spell, and then once the spell is cast, they can decide how many power points are going to go into, and they actually have to tell you how many power points you're trying to put into the spell. So I think we're going to need, let's just jump them all into a spell, and we're going to try to take a shot at that cleric. He has an activation of 3, so with 3 successes, he's going to hit that cleric with a -2, so he's at a +1. It's a free attack. He's at a +1. No, I take it back. So he's at a 1, +1 for the spell, so he's going to add 2 to his roll, and the cleric is going to add 3 to his. And this is just a straight up attack. So the cleric wins that particular duel, and because it's distance attack, nothing happens to our Minotaur Necromancer. It is our hero's turn, and our cleric is not going to put up with that. We're going to move. Oh, how do we want to do this? Why don't we go ahead and move our hero first? He's got a leadership of 3, and I'm feeling good about this. So he gets 3 actions, and he's going to engage with the mummy right off the bat. It's going to take him 2 actions, but he recognizes that as the biggest threat. So that being the case, our halfling hero has a combat skill of 3, and our mummy has a combat skill of 3. And he doesn't have to pass any quality control checks, so it's just a straight 3-on-3. 8 versus 7 with an odd result. That gives us a retreat. So why don't you just fall back a little bit there, mummy? which is great because now that Mummy's going to have to spend an activation to move back into contact. It also gives us a chance. So now that we're a little more secure, our cleric can try to engage that. Wraith, or do we want the wizard to take a stab at him first? As promised, I'm trying to give you guys a little better view of the action by zooming in once we narrow down exactly where it's at. So we are going to be dealing with this wizard trying to transfix the wraith so that his buddies can move on down the road. He rolls a grand total of 0 successes, and in fact, that's a huge problem because not only does it end their turn, but it also means that he can no longer cast any spells. He's useless now, particularly because as a melee fighter, he only has a score of... Well, actually, no, he's not too bad. He's got a score of 3, so better luck next time. The Necromancer is going to take full advantage of that by moving the Wraith up to contact. Ooh, well, let me roll my successes first. Mr. Wraith there rolls 2 successes, so he is going to zip on over and engage. Well, with him out of the way, I think we'll go ahead and go after the Barbarian. That Barbarian has a combat skill of 3, and the Wraith has a combat skill of 4. No modifiers, so the Barbarian is in the orange, and that's going to be a 5 to a 9. Unfortunately, that 5 is a pushback, and that pushback takes him off the battlefield and out of the game. I told you that that blown spell was going to cost the heroes big time, and it already has. The Mummy is going to shoot for 2 successes to try and re-engage. All he gets is the 1, so he's going to re-engage the Halfling, and that's going to allow the rest of the skeletons who have an activation of 3. So we'll start with this guy. He's going to move there. This second guy is going to move, well, he got 1 success, so he'll move here. And we got 2 guys in the woods. We'll start with him. He only gets 1 success, and he's got to move short, so that's as far as he can go. This one is the last of the skeletons, and he rolls 2 failures, so the Necromancer King's turn ends with just a little bit of motion. And it's pretty clear the heroes have got to get off that table edge, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to roll 2 actions for our first archer. She only gets 1, but that's going to be enough for her to at least advance to a much safer space. Her brother is going to do the same, and he's going to make 2 movements. He's going to rush up 1, and then he's going to use his second one to clamber over the fence and make contact with this archer. Remember that climbing over a fence reduces your move to small, but I mean, you can see he has a movement to do that. Moving right along, our cleric is going to go ahead and jump up on, let's go ahead and leap on that skeleton. The cleric has a quality of 3, so all he can do is move into contact. And this war mage is going to shoot for, he's got an activation of 4. So he only gets 1 success, but that is more than enough for him to, ooh, can he shoot through the gap there? Yeah, there's a base width, so he's going to run up to there, and that buys him at least a little bit of time. So the last half man standing on the hero side is our hero halfling, who we're really going to be leaning on extra heavy. He only gets 1 success, but that is enough for him to fight with Mr. Mummy. And we are looking at a 3 versus 3 with no real advantage or disadvantage to either of them. So it is a tie and nothing happens. That'll do it for our heroes. We're going to go ahead and gang up on that cleric. Oh, they left their cleric hanging here. What are you doing, bow lady? So we know what we got to do. This skeleton is going to be the first one to, all he needs to do, we're going to go roll 2 dice. He gets 2 actions, so he gets to move up, and he's going to go ahead and make that attack. The cleric is fighting at a 2 now because he's outnumbered, and the skeleton is fighting at a 2. So it's an even roll, and with a 5 and a 3 on an odd number, he is forced to retreat away. And this skeleton is going to try to get in on some of that sweet cleric bastion action. He rolls 2 successes, and if we check, that medium is plenty enough to come around to here. He has an attack, and that's going to be skeletons at a 3 versus the cleric's 3. No, skeletons at a 2. So 6 and a 5. Whoa, 6 and a 5, and that puts the cleric down on the ground with the bone white even result. Unfortunate, because our wraith will make 2 actions, and he only gets 2 successes. He actually has a quality 3. How about that? So he moves to contact, and now he gets to fight. We're going to put him stepping right on that cleric's head, which is unfortunate. So the cleric has a +2. The wraith has a +4. And with a 9 versus a 7, that is going to be your killing blow. Once you're on the ground, if you lose a combat, it's game over, man. It's game over. So, wow, these are, this must be a first level BX adventuring party, because they've got the death count to show for it. And we still haven't even done the, did we do the mummy and the halfling yet? I don't think we did. And I don't think we are. I think we're going to, well, yeah, mummy's going to try for that killing blow. He's going to take 2 actions. He only goes on a 5. And with that failure, initiative kicks back over to Team Haplessly Good. We'll try to start with a combat hit. No, she's going to try for 2 actions. And with a 3 and a 2, she's only going to get 1. But that 1 is enough to get her over the hedge. Hopefully next time. We'll go ahead and bring him up to support there. And that War Mage, that gives him 2 actions. So 1 action will be enough to move to contact. The second action will be enough to launch a combat. And that would be a 3-on-3, except for the Halfling Hero gives the War Mage a +1. So that's going to be a 10 versus a 4. That's a Dublin. No, wait a minute, I take it back. He's got to pass a quality check just to move in, which he does. Okay, so the result stands. He doubles up on Mr. Terror, and Mr. Terror, now, Mr. Terror is tough, so that does 1 wound, and that mummy now has an activation of 6. Unfortunate, because our hero is now going to take a swipe, and it's the same thing. Our hero has a +4 to the mummy's +3. He just manages to beat him, which, but without doubling, that becomes a fall. So he knocks down me dear old mother. And those are the only guys we got left. Minotaur says, hey, Skelly, you want to get in there and help out Mr. Mummy? And Skeleton says, no, I think I'm good. I'm just going to wait here and let the heroes take another turn. That's a big problem. So our hero is going to take 1 swipe at this guy. Our hero is now fighting at a 5 because he's attacking a downed warrior. And that downed warrior is attacking at a 2. So red is +2. That's a 6. And that becomes a 10 which is enough to, on an odd result, that would be a retreat, but he is down, so that becomes a lethal blow. And as he is already at 6, the mummy has breathed his last dusty breath and just unravels under the onslaught. He still hasn't gone yet, so he's going to go ahead. No, first we're going to go ahead and attack this guy here. All he needs, he's going to roll 2 dice for activation. And with 2 successes, he can do a mighty blow, which is great because it means he's fighting at a +4, and he is fighting at a 0. So 2, 6, that becomes a gruesome kill. And Mr. Necromancer is not undead, so he has to make a morale check. With 1 failure, he's going to run away. As long as he's moving away from this, so he's got to come this way. I think we'll go ahead and run him outside like so. Get me out of here. And she is going to move. She's going to try to make 2 moves. And with both of them, she's going to move short to here and stop. And now he has not gone yet. So he's going to make 3 checks. If he can get 2 successes, he can win the game. And he gets 1 success. He may still be able to make it. If he moves medium, if we lay this down there, he can come to right there. You know what? It's tight. It's real tight. He's kind of right there. He can't get entirely. I'm just going to put him right here just to make it clear that he is not on the victory circle. And it is the undead's turn. So he's got some stopping to do. The first thing he's going to do is move this guy. That wraith is going to make 2 moves. He gets both of them. He's got to stop these. He's got to stop these meddling kids from busting into his house. So there's move number 1. And remember, he can fly. So he's going to make his second move to right here. And that engages the War Mage. So if the War Mage wants to move into there, he's going to provoke an attack of opportunity. That would be the D&D phraseology. Oh, man, but he's got to stop this guy, too. This is going to be tight. So this skeleton under here is going to make 2 actions. And that first action means he can go to, well, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. He's in the rough ground, so he's got to go to there first. And then he can make that medium move. You can see it's close enough. And say, hey, halt. Where do you think you're going, punk? Mister. Now what do we want to do? We're gonna roll 1 for each of these 3 guys with hand weapons up here. They are grossly out of position. That's 1 failure. We're gonna roll a second one for a success, and we're gonna run and engage the hero to slow him down. And we've got 1 more guy who's gonna make 1 move back here to the hero, which leaves us with just our wizard on this side. He's going to turn around and say, he's going to, he can't attack through there. He's going to cast a spell. He's going to try and transfix the sweetheart here. He only gets 2 successes. So what he's going to have to do is move up to here to clear the line of sight. And then he can, with a short distance, he can try to transfix her, which means she won't count as being as knocking on his door because she won't be active. So he succeeds. So now she has to pass a check, and she does. So she fights off the effects of his spell, which is too bad because I have a cute way to represent that. Maybe next turn. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So Team Good's going to go now, and they are desperately trying to get inside his tower, which means the first thing we're going to do, we're going to have to do something here. We're going to bring her over to this guy to help out. She gets one action, and so she moves to contact, and then unfortunately that means he's got to fight the Wraith. The Wraith is fighting at a 3 because of her assistance, and the War Mage is fighting at a 3 because that's how he rolls. It is a tie and nothing happens, so we have a straight combat here, 3 versus 3, and because he's not shooting, there's no difference on an even. That means this bowman falls over, and then we have a combat here. Our halfling buddy is going to roll all 3. He gets 2 hits. That's going to be a mighty blow. Now, he is at -1 because he's outnumbered. Let me turn these guys to face. Okay, so he's attacking, let's call it this guy first. He is outnumbered, so he's at a -1, which means he's fighting at a 2. And the skeleton is weak, so he's fighting at a 2. So we're going to add 2 to each of these. And the skeleton gets a 7 to 3. That's a doubling. Our hero's quality goes up to 4 because he takes 1 wound. And that is it for the good guys. Mr. Necromancer needs to get his guys back into action. So he's going to start with him. And he desperately doesn't want his turn to end. So he's just going to move. You know, I take it back. We're going to swing him around this way a little bit. This guy is going to... Now, we're in base-to-base contact. Let's not be silly. Whoa. We should probably roll. Oh, he got 2 successes, so that's a mighty blow. So he's fighting at a 3, 4, 5, because he's attacking a guy that's on the ground, and that archer is fighting at a 3. So that's a 7 and an 8. The archer wins with a 5. Means he's got to, hey, back off, bro. That might be a problem. The Necromancer is going to, well, let's do this attack first. And that's just going to be a regular attack. If we can get a success, which we don't. That was a 2. So this guy's going to try the same. He gets a success. So he can attack. And that is going to be a 3 versus a 2. And with a victory, well, wait a minute. That is a 2 versus a, so he gets an 8, and he gets an 8. He's fighting at a 3, -1 for this guy, so it's a straight up tie. So he has survived this round. And the Wraith is going to attack the Mage. Wraith fights at a 4. Mage fights at a 3, except for the doubling, so it's a 3 versus 3. And remember, red is the defender, so the Wraith rolls a 4, which pushes him to the ground. That's a 7. That's a 6. Yep, War Mage hits the dirt. And the Minotaur is going to take advantage of that by stepping up and bonking him on the head. Now, his activation is a 4, so he only gets 2 actions, which means he does not get the mighty blow. But he does get a +2 because he's fighting somebody on the ground. So that wizard is now fighting at a 3. And the War Mage is also fighting at a 3. No, he's fighting at a 2 because he's got that guy in contact. So that's going to be an 8 versus a 7. And War Mage falls down. Everybody's hitting the floor. It is the... Oh, wait. Yeah, it's the hero's turn. He's going to try to take 3 actions and get 2 successes. So he uses 1 to stand up, and he uses his second one to move, and he has won the day. They have... Well, no, they haven't yet, because she is still engaged with the Wraith. We need 2 people that can blitzkrieg in, and you can't get in unless you disengage. Now, she has the option of disengaging, but the Wraith gets a free attack on her, and she can't hit him back. So we're not going to do that. We're actually going to have the War Mage. Well, that's only 1 move, you know. That's only 1 action. Well, no, that's the second action. 1 to stand up, 1 to move in. Okay. So he is done. War Mage is just going to stand up. And he manages to do that, which is great because it means Girl Archer can fight this guy. And that's going to be a 3 versus a 3. Archer Girl wins with an even number, which knocks him down. And now she's no longer engaged, so now our heroes have won the day. The Minotaur has fallen, and by committing too many of his forces outside the tower, it allows a couple of heroes, including, was it both of our archers? Yeah, it was our elite archers, the Shooty twins, to break into his innermost sanctum and break the phylactery that was the source of all his power. There was nothing he could do. Was this scenario balanced? Well, it was balanced as far as point costs. Song of Blades and Heroes does have an excellent point-buy system for trying to make your battles as even as possible. I'm not sure it works so well when you've got unusual victory conditions like we had today. They might have been a little too easy for the heroes, but who cares? You know, the dice were running hot and cold for both sides, and this fight could easily have gone either way. There were a couple of critical rolls like that War Mage fumbling his first spell was painful for them. They managed to overcome some stuff, and really, the important thing is not whether or not a scenario is balanced. It's how you play the scenario. It's whether or not you can rise to the challenge of playing through that scenario and winning through despite the balance issues. And regardless of who you thought had the easier time with those victory conditions, both sides gave it the old college try. And, you know, we got to flex and learn a little bit more about how these rules work and play with some of the more complicated rules. And it flowed pretty smoothly. There's some benefit to playing these games just back to back to back to back and not hop, skipping, and jumping from rule set to rule set. So I think we're going to do that. I think we're going to do one more fight, work in a few more of these figures before we move on to a new rule. And when we do, in just 2 short days, I hope you'll join us for some more of the joy of wargaming. Until then, get out in the real world. Make sure you work out. Make sure you eat right. Make sure you say your prayers. And make sure that you're trying to make the world a better place for everyone around you. In the meantime, signing off. God bless y'all.